Okay, this is part 2 of lesson 8.2. So we took the values from the last one, and I've already broken them down into their decimal frequencies. See, 2 out of 32 is 0.0625, and we've done that for all of these, so you might want to fill this table in. And then it says the joint relative frequency tells what percent of all those surveyed are in each category. So for example, if we're talking about girls that like soccer, we're at about 6%. 6% girls and soccer. So the cross between those two. And it's also about 6% for boys that like soccer. Okay. And then for girls that like basketball, we're looking at about 37.5%. So girls, basketball. And for guys, it's about 34.4%. I am rounding some of these numbers off so I don't have to write them all. So boys like basketball. Okay, and you can see I can continue to, give you these different values. You can see for girls that like volleyball, it's about 12.5%. Boys that like volleyball, it's about 3%. So these are the joint relative frequencies. Whereas the marginal relative frequency tells what percent of totals has a given single characteristic. So that means we're only looking at one thing, either just gender or just preference. So for example, we can see that about 12.5% of the students, this one down here, this total, like soccer. And 71.875% like basketball. Okay. And we can see about 15.625% like volleyball. And then we also know how many are girls and how many are boys. So roughly 56.25% of the population surveyed are girls. 43.75% are boys. So these are the marginal relative frequencies. We're only look at one category versus multiple categories together. Okay? So, let's kind of go through and complete some of these numbers. So here we have two categories that we're looking at, and that is, so it says Millie performed a survey of students in the lunch line and recorded which type of fruit each student selected, along with the gender. So she's looking at whether they selected apples, bananas, or oranges, and whether they're girls or boys. And we can see all the numbers. We can see the total here of 92. So 92 total students were surveyed. And so now we can go through, we can make these into percentages. So again, girls who liked apples, that's 16 out of 92. That's 17.4%. For bananas, be 10.9% for girls, 14.1% for boys, and that's 25% total of the population. For oranges, for girls, 15.2% of the girls picked oranges, 15.2% of the boys picked oranges, and the total is 30.4% of the students picked oranges. This is 100% of the students here, and we've got 43.5% are girls that were surveyed, 56.5% of boys. And so now we want to look at joint relative frequencies. We want to know, like, what percent are girls who selected apples? So girls and apples, 17.4%. Girls who selected bananas, 10.9%. Okay, and girls who selected oranges was 15.2%. And we could go through and fill all of these in. So I'm going to do that for each of these. Boys that selected an apple, it's 27.2, 14.1, 15.2, and then the marginal frequencies. Well, how many people selected an apple? Just an apple or overall, whether they're girls or boys. 44.6%. Selected a banana, 25%. An orange, 30.4. How many are girls? 43.5%. How many are boys? 56.5%. And so that's the difference between joint relative frequencies and marginal relative frequencies.